Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Lee Frost. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village though. You will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. Now, let's do a line by line analysis of this poem. Now, let's try to understand the meaning of this poem. The first line says, "Whose woods these are, I think I know." By this line, the poet tells that the speaker guesses who owns the woods. It shows curiosity and reflection of the speaker. It seems that the speaker might have an idea about the woods or about the belongingness of the woods. To whom does this woods belong? So he says, his house is in the village though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. Therefore he says that the owner is far away living in the village. And now his woods are empty and private. It's a private, and now it's actually a private place, okay, since it belongs to someone the speaker knows. The speaker now has stopped in this woods, and since he knows that the person to whom the woods belong is not here, so he thinks that now this place is a personal place and a secret place for him, and no one is going to notice him. So he stops here to quietly admire the falling snow and beauty of nature. So, what is his purpose of stopping by the woods? It is to admire, to actually be enchanted by the falling snow and beautiful nature. Well, then he tells, "My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year." So here, the horse is actually personified. Okay, the horse is puzzled. This puzzled horse is actually adding a humor and warmth in the poem. When the horse stops here, stopping in this place, in this lonely place, is quite unusual. This actually shows isolation, and the scene is described as still, cold, and it's frozen all around. It's frozen. Probably it's the winter solstice. It might symbolize deep darkness or mystery. That is the mystery of life. It might also symbolize the loneliness, the dark woods altogether, the cold woods altogether symbolize the mystery that life yet doesn't know. What mystery? The mystery of death is actually being talked to here. Why is it said that the horse might think it a bit strange to stop here? Because generally horses stop at a halls where there are farmhouses. But since in this woods it's completely dark and a lonely place, there are no farmhouses, so the horse now is puzzled. He's not able to understand as to why has the speaker stopped here. The very third line is very interesting and symbolic. Between the woods and frozen lake. This woods, it's like the birth that you have taken, the liveliness of life, and frozen lake is actually like the death. So, we human beings, the activities that we do between life and death is like halt, like taking a halt in between life and death. Just like the horse is confused, why has it stopped in this woods? Similarly, we human beings often get confused as to why are we here in this earth? What is our life purpose? What do we need to do in this life? All these things come up in our mind. So, this poem is actually symbolic of our human activities in this world, of our human existence in this world. Now let's see what does the next stanza say. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there's some mistake. The only other sound's the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. So what does it mean? The horse here makes some noise, breaking silence, suggesting impatience. The horse's action is interpreted as questioning the stop, the absolute quiet, except for one natural sound that we get to hear, is that of the gentle breeze and soft snowflakes. It creates calm and peaceful mood. All these lines are actually symbolic, or you can say it's metaphorical to our human existence. How? Just like the speaker, we often get confused as to which way to take, where to stand, where to go, how to move, why to move. We are so confused with all these questions. And like the horse, we have an inner self which gives answers, or which often tells us that it's time to work, it's time to act. Do not stop and think all the time. The more you think, the slower you become. So it's the mind inside us tells us be active. So the horse here is telling the speaker that we have a long way to go. We cannot stop here. We have to take the step in front. We have to do that. And oftentimes our inner self asks us, are we correct? Or we ask to our inner self, are we doing things correct? Are we on the right track? Will the consequences be correct or wrong? We are not sure of it. And when we ask these questions to ourselves, we too do not get a proper answer unless and until we act. So, this horse is symbolic of our inner self. It tells us to act, to take the step. Only if we take the step, we can understand whether the step will give good consequences or bad consequences. So, all these things are symbolic of our human lives, of our daily activities, of our own thoughts. And here, what is said that the only sound that is heard of is of the easy wind and downy flake, which says that it's just a calm and peaceful environment all around. So, it is also suggested that even if we are at a halt, questioning ourselves, not getting an answer, be patient. Patience is important. Calmness of mind is important because that only will allow us to take the right decision or to fight back any problem that comes up in our life. Now let's analyze the last stanza of this poem. It says, the woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. What does this lines mean? At this halt, the speaker is enchanted. The woods are very beautiful, but the woods appear mysterious to the poet or to the speaker. And as the bells of the horse rings, what happens as the bells start ringing? What happens? The speaker he comes back to his senses, and the sense of duty and responsibility pulls him away. Okay, and then he says that he has long miles to go. He has a long journey left. So he says, and the reputation in the last line, it actually emphasizes determination and the weight of responsibility, which says that now the speaker is out of his uh, out of his enchantment that woods have shown to him. He's out of that, and he is reminded of his duty, of his responsibilities that he needs to perform. There's a long journey, there's a long way to go. He cannot stop. These lines too are metaphorically represented. What is the metaphor lying behind? See, when the poet says that the woods are lovely, dark, and deep, it means that just like the woods, our lives are also lovely, means beautiful. Our life is also mysterious. We often do not get answers to several questions, to several equations that happen in our lives. But we should not be stopped by that, or we should not stop our lives thinking about why this happened, why didn't I get that, why did I miss this, why others are achieving a lot but I am lagging behind, I'm behind the masses. I shouldn't think about all these things. The poet says you shouldn't think about all these things because life is beautiful, life has its own mystery. But what you need to do is you need to fulfill your duties. You need to go on and go on. Life isn't a very small thing, it's a long journey. The last two lines are extremely important. Actually, they're the essence of this poem. What does the last two lines say? It says that the speaker, he says that there are miles to go before he sleeps, which means that just like the speaker, we actually, we human beings, have a long way to go. We cannot stop. We cannot be thoughtful of what I've achieved or what I haven't achieved. We cannot think about all these things. We should go on. And just as our roles change, our responsibilities also change. Like the role of a father is something different, the role of a husband is different, the role of a son is different. So with our changing, with the change in our ages, a new role is given to us. And along with it comes a new responsibility. So we are bound to fulfill all these responsibilities. And these responsibilities we have to fulfill till the day we die. We cannot stop thinking or doing back calculations. In life, we can only move forward. Therefore, here the story, here the poem, it actually tells that move forward, and move forward. There's a long way to go. There are more responsibilities to perform. There are more promises that you have made which you need to fulfill. You cannot stop. So take life positively. Use or have positivity in your life and move forward, because we do not know the consequences, but we have only one thing in our mind, that we can only move forward. And let's see what's in store for us in our future. So let's quickly talk about the main themes of this poem. The first one, the tension between temptation, or that is beauty of the woods, beauty of life, often it tempts us, and also of duty or commitment. Okay, this is the first theme of this poem. The second is solitude and quiet as spaces for reflection. When we are confused, we need to be calm, we need to think within ourselves. That is very important. The third one is a subtle meditation on responsibility and mortality. As the last lines say, that before I sleep, there's miles to go. Okay, these two lines invite both literal and metaphorical understanding. And the explanation of these two lines have previously been discussed while I was giving the explanation of the poem. Well, now let's find out the poetic devices used in the poem. The first one, the rhyming scheme. The poem follows AABA, BBCB, CCDC, and DDDD. This is the rhyming scheme that is followed in the poem. Example, no, though, here, snow. Well, you can well discern from this. Okay, the second one is the meter or the rhythm that has been used. It's actually iambic tetrameter. Four ions per line we're going to get. For that reason, it is said iambic tetrameter. For example, whose words these are, I think, I know. Then we have alliteration, which means repetition of consonant sounds. For example, his house is in the village, though. See, the H sound is repetitively coming. Then next is watch his woods, the wa sound, the W sound, okay? Sounds, the sweep, the S sound. So these are consonantal sounds repetitively actually it's coming. Then we have the assonance, which means repetition of vowel sounds. For example, he gives his harness bells a shake, the long E sound that is coming out from this line. The second example we can take as the only other sounds the sweep, the long O sound coming up from this line. Well, then we have the imagery, the images that have been used We have auditory as well as visual images. Like to watch his woods fill up with snow, it's a visual impact coming out from the poem. Then the only other sounds, the sweep of easy wind and downy flake, it's actually appealing to our ears. We can feel it. We can imagine what the poet has actually written. Then sixth, we have the personification, giving human qualities to non-human things. Like, for example, the horse. My little horse must think it queer. Horse is given human thought. Like the horse does not have the feeling of understanding what is strange and what is not strange. However, this humane emotion has been put into the horse, or to ask if there's some mistake. The horse's bill shake is interpreted a question. It's like a question, right? So all these things come up only in human brains, but not in animals. So that's the personification used here. Next, we have symbolism, or the words used acting as symbols to imply some meaning. For example, words implying beauty, mystery, temptation, or even death. Then, promises implying duties and responsibilities of life. Next, we have sleep or rest, possibly metaphor for death, as I've described or as I've actually discussed previously in the poem. Then we have the reputation used as you can say as a device, poetic device, like miles to go before I sleep and miles to go before I sleep. This creates an emphasis and chant, like it's like a haunting effect that is being created by these repetitive lines. Well, we also have contrast or juxtaposition, means two opposite ideas have been introduced, like the contrast between lovely dark and deep woods. That is the temptation, symbolizing temptation and promises to keep, as well as talking about the duties, the contrast between these two. And the last, we have enchantment, which means continuation of meaning without pause at the end of a line. Like, for example, my little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near. The thought flows across this line. So, there are two lines. However, the thought or the idea has been brought into the next line also. So, such a poetic device that has been used, which is an enjambment that has been introduced in the poem also. So these are the poetic devices used by the poet to represent a wonderful poem. So, this is all about the poem. A detailed analysis of the poem has been given to the students. So, if you have any doubt, you can definitely comment below and get your doubts clarified. Thank you, students. And soon coming up with the detailed analysis of a new chapter. Till then, bye, thank you, and take care.